Have you ever been there? You're just walking up a flight of stairs maybe, or even just tackling a slight hill, and bam, you're suddenly gasping for air, completely breathless. And the frustration, it really kicks in when you go see your doctor, right? They run all the usual tests, heart, lungs, and then they tell you everything looks normal. It's so confusing, isn't it? You know something feels off, but the tests say you're fine. Makes you feel a bit dismissed, maybe. But what if there's a powerful hidden reason for that breathlessness, something that the standard tests just don't really catch? Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at an often overlooked factor that could explain why you feel winded, even when, on paper everything seems okay. We're talking about visceral fat. It's the kind you can't actually pinch. It hides deep inside your belly. I'm really keen to unpack what it is, how it messes with your breathing, often secretly, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it.
Yeah, our mission today is really to connect those dots for you, those crucial dots that often get missed. We want to help you look beyond just those single test results, and see the bigger picture of what's happening in your body. We'll explore the subtle but really significant ways this specific type of fat affects your system. The idea is to give you insights that can make a real difference in understanding your own health and why you might be feeling this way. It's about empowering you with knowledge.
Okay, let's get into it then. Let's unpack this. When most of us think about body fat, we picture, the soft stuff, subcutaneous fat, right? The layer just under the skin you can literally pinch. But visceral fat, that sounds like a whole different beast.
It really is. What's fascinating, and a bit scary maybe, is where it lives. Visceral fat is deep inside your abdomen. It actually surrounds your vital organs, your liver, pancreas, your intestines. But here's the real kicker. It's not just sitting there like inert storage. It acts like like a rogue endocrine organ. It's metabolically active. It actively releases inflammatory chemicals, hormones, things that interfere with your metabolism, your blood pressure.
And even your breathing. That's the connection we're making today.
Exactly. It directly impacts your breathing. So this isn't just about how you look. It's about intense biological activity happening inside you.
Wow. So if it's hidden deep inside, how do we even know it's there? How is it measured?
Good question. Typically, the best way is with a specific scan, like a CT scan. That gives us a value called VATI, which stands for Visceral Adipose Tissue Index. A high VATI basically signals there's too much of this active fat packed around your organs, and as we're about to explore, that has some pretty serious knock-on effects for your heart, your lungs, and just your general quality of life, really.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because how does fat inside my belly actually affect how I breathe? It seems disconnected, doesn't it? I'm really eager to understand the mechanics here. You mentioned 5 key ways this hidden fat can, steal your breath.
That's right. Let's break them down. The first one is quite straightforward. It's physical restriction. Basically, excess visceral fat increases the pressure inside your abdominal cavity, and that pressure pushes upwards directly onto your diaphragm.
Your main breathing muscle.
Precisely. Especially when you're lying down or bending over, even sometimes just sitting after a big meal. The impact. Your lungs just can't expand fully. You take shallower breaths. You get that feeling of not quite getting enough air, especially when you try to exert yourself. Medically, this is known as restrictive breathing. It's a direct mechanical effect.
So it's like an internal squeeze affecting your lungs. That makes sense. You can almost picture it.
You can. And it's not just a feeling. It's a measurable reduction in lung volume for some people.
Okay, so that's one. What's the second way?
The second is that it just makes breathing harder work. Simple as that. Your respiratory muscles, the diaphragm, the muscles in your chest wall, they have to work much harder. They have to expend more energy just to move the same amount of air in and out.
Like that analogy you used before we started recording, like running with an extra weight vest you can't take
It's
off.
exactly like that. It's a constant extra load on your breathing system. And the impact of that is you feel fatigued and breathless with even mild activity.
Like just walking around the house maybe, doing chores?
Absolutely. Things that shouldn't really wind you suddenly feel like a major effort.
Okay, physical restriction and increased effort. Makes sense. What's number 3?
Number 3 connects this fat to a specific type of heart issue. Heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, or HFpEF. Now this one's a bit more complex, but really important. In HFpEF, your heart muscle pumps okay. The ejection fraction is preserved. It looks normal on basic tests. But the problem is, the heart muscle doesn't relax properly between beats. It becomes stiff.
So it pumps out fine, but doesn't fill up properly again.
Exactly. That stiffness leads to a backlog, basically. Pressure builds up, especially backing up into the lungs, particularly when you exercise. So you experience exertional breathlessness, even though, again, those basic heart tests might look fine. And here's the link. HFpEF is much more common in people with central obesity that belly fat and related conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, or fatty liver,
Right.
all connected back to excess visceral fat.
Wow. So that could explain why someone feels breathless on exertion, has the heart checked, is told it's fine, but the relaxation phase is the hidden problem linked to the fat.
Precisely. It's a crucial piece of the puzzle often missed by standard screening.
Okay, that's huge. What's the fourth mechanism?
Fourth, it's often tied up with low fitness and muscle loss, a pattern sometimes called sarcopenic obesity. This is kind of a double whammy, as you said. You have the high belly fat and you have lower muscle mass and strength.
Right. Less muscle generally means you just can't do as much physically.
Exactly. Your overall exercise capacity is lower. Even everyday activities become more challenging, feel harder, and leave you breathless. And it can become a real vicious cycle, can't it? You feel breathless, so you tend to move less.
And then your muscles get weaker, which makes you more breathless next time. Ugh.
That's the cycle, unfortunately.
Okay, one more. What's the fifth way visceral fat impacts breathing?
The fifth way is through chronic inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. Remember we said visceral fat isn't passive. It actively releases these inflammatory chemicals. These chemicals circulate throughout your body, and they impact how effectively your muscles use oxygen, how your body responds to exercise generally. It's a key contributor to conditions like fatty liver disease, NAFLD insulin resistance, even sleep apnea.
And all of those things can make you feel tired and breathless too, right?
Absolutely. They all increase fatigue and reduce your body's overall oxygen efficiency. So it all feeds into that sensation of breathlessness.
Okay, so we have these 5 distinct but kind of interconnected ways visceral fat can cause breathlessness. Physical restriction, more effort, heart stiffness and HFpEF, low muscle and fitness, and this chronic inflammation. Which brings us back to that really frustrating situation. But my tests are normal.
Yeah.
So many people hear this. They have the lung function tests, ECGs, maybe even a basic heart scan or x-ray, and are told everything's fine. Why? Why do these tests miss what we've just talked about?
Yeah, it's a really valid question, and it causes a lot of confusion. The main reason is that these standard tests often aren't sensitive enough to pick up the early or subtle changes. They're good at detecting more advanced disease, but they might miss, for example, that early diastolic dysfunction, the heart stiffness of HFpEF. Or they might not clearly show the slight reduction in lung volumes caused by that mechanical pressure from the visceral fat. It might still fall within a normal range.
So normal doesn't necessarily mean optimal or free from these effects.
Exactly. Normal is often a very broad range. And these tests look at specific things in isolation. They don't typically measure visceral fat directly or assess muscle mass or look for subtle signs of metabolic stress impacting the heart-lung system during exercise.
Right. So that's why we need to look beyond just the individual numbers. It's about stepping back and asking different questions like, okay, is there excess visceral fat here? Could that be causing mechanical or metabolic issues? Is fitness low? Is muscle strength poor? Is there something stressing the system that these basic tests just aren't designed to find? It's about seeing the whole picture, the whole system working together, or, well, not working optimally together.
Precisely. Connecting the dots rather than just looking at isolated points.
Okay, so if we suspect this might be relevant for us or for someone listening, how do you know if you actually have too much visceral fat? Do you absolutely need that CT scan?
Not necessarily to get a good idea. While a CT scan is the gold standard for measuring VODI, there are simpler clues you can use right now. The first, and probably most useful, is a simple tape measure. You want to check your waist-to-height ratio, or WHTR.
Waist-to-height ratio, how does that work?
It's straightforward. Measure your waist circumference, usually around your belly button level, then measure your height. Divide the waist measurement by the height measurement. Ideally, that ratio should be less than 0.5, so your waist should be less than half your height. If the ratio is over 0.5, it suggests increased risk. And if it's over 0.55, it's a pretty strong indicator of excess visceral fat and significantly higher cardiometabolic risk.
Oh, that's simple. Less than 0.5 is the goal. Easy to remember.
Very easy. And a powerful predictor.
What else? Any visual clues?
Yes, body shape is a big one. Think apple-shaped versus pear-shaped. If you tend to carry more fat around your middle, your abdomen, compared to your hips and thighs, you're much more likely to have higher levels of visceral fat.
Okay. Apple shape, waist-to-height ratio.
Well,
Anything else?
there's that important concept we touched on earlier, TO5.
Ah, yes. Thin outside, fat inside.
Exactly. It's a crucial reminder that you can have a normal weight on the scales, maybe even a normal BMI, but still carry excess visceral fat internally. So it's really not just about the number on the scale, it's about where the fat is.
Okay, so those are good clues. Now, for the really important part, the good news. You mentioned this type of fat can actually be reduced.
Yes, absolutely. That's the hopeful message here. Visceral fat is often more responsive to lifestyle changes than the subcutaneous fat, the stuff you can pinch. It mobilizes more readily when you make the right changes.
Okay, brilliant. So what are those changes? What can people start doing?
First, shift your focus. Track your waist, not just your weight. Use that waist circumference measurement and your waist to height ratio as key progress markers. Many people find their waistline shrinks noticeably, sometimes even within a few weeks of making changes, often before the scale budges much. And crucially, they often report feeling better, improved breathing, more energy as the waist shrinks. That's powerful feedback.
Okay, track the waist. Makes sense. What about diet?
Number two is to eat to support fat loss and muscle strength. This generally means focusing on getting enough protein. Protein helps preserve muscle while you're losing fat, and it also helps you feel fuller, which can manage appetite. And alongside that, aim to reduce your intake of ultra-processed carbohydrates.
So things like white bread, biscuits, sugary drinks, snacks, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Those tend to drive fat storage, especially visceral fat for many people. Some find strategies like time-restricted eating, limiting their eating window each day, or perhaps having fewer carbs in the evening can be helpful too.
And there are apps for tracking this stuff, right? Like you mentioned, MyFitnessPal or Dr. Shape.
Yes, those tools can be really useful for understanding your intake and making adjustments.
Okay, diet sorted. What about movement?
Number three, move more, especially resistance training. Now, cardio like walking, cycling, swimming is great. It builds your aerobic base, helps burn calories, absolutely do it. But building and maintaining muscle is particularly key for tackling visceral fat and improving your breathing capacity. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. Aim for maybe 2 to 3 resistance sessions per week. This doesn't have to mean hitting a heavy weights gym.
Could be body weight stuff at home. Squats, lunges, push-ups.
Absolutely. Bodyweight exercises, resistance bands, whatever works for you and builds strength. Combine that with daily walking or other cardio.
Great. So track waist, adjust diet for protein and fewer processed carbs, add resistance training. What else?
Fourth, use digital tools to track progress. This helps keep you motivated and see what's working. You mentioned body composition scales. Some can give an estimate of visceral fat, which can be interesting to watch. Keep tracking that waist measurement. Use fitness apps to monitor your activity and maybe even note how your breathlessness feels over time. And as we mentioned, your doctor has tools too. Maybe monitoring blood pressure more closely with home monitors like Helo, maybe a sleep study if sleep apnea is suspected that's strongly linked to VAT.
Or a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, if blood sugar control is an issue.
Exactly. And in some clinical settings, follow-up CT scans can directly measure the reduction in VI over time, which is very motivating.
Okay, and finally, is there a role for medication sometimes?
Yes. Number 5 is considering medical therapy in certain cases. This is really for individuals where lifestyle changes alone aren't enough, especially if they have persistently high VATI, or if the breathlessness is severely impacting their daily life, or if they have related conditions like type 2 diabetes or significant fatty liver disease. In those situations, a doctor might discuss medications like the GLP-1 receptor agonist.
Those are becoming more common now, aren't they?
They are, and importantly, studies show they can specifically help reduce visceral fat, improve that diastolic heart function we talked about, HFpEF, and support weight loss overall. But they work best, really, when combined with those lifestyle changes, diet and exercise. It's usually a combined approach.
Right. It's not just a magic bullet. It's part of a bigger strategy.
Precisely. A tool in the toolbox for the right person, discussed with their healthcare team.
Okay, let's pull this all together then. What's the big takeaway? It seems clear that visceral fat, this hidden internal fat, is far from harmless. It can physically squeeze your lungs, make breathing harder work, stiffen your heart, weaken your muscles and fitness, and fuel inflammation. So if you're feeling breathless, especially on exertion, and your standard tests are coming back normal, this internal fat could genuinely be the missing piece of the puzzle you've been looking for.
Absolutely. And remember that simple tool, your waist to height ratio. Keep it under 0.5. It's a really practical way to gauge your risk and track your progress. And the really encouraging part is that you can make changes. Reducing visceral fat through targeted diet, focusing on resistance training, and sometimes with medical support, can lead to dramatic improvements. Improvements not just in breathlessness, but in your overall long-term heart and metabolic health, too. It's definitely worth the effort.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, doesn't it? Consider this. If something as invisible, as hidden away as internal fat, can have such a profound effect on something as fundamental as breathing, what other subtle signals might our bodies be sending us? Signals that perhaps we, or even conventional medicine, are currently overlooking, and kind of invites us all to a bit more curious, maybe more attuned to our own bodies, and to keep seeking that bigger picture when it comes to our health, because sometimes the answers aren't obvious. They lie just beneath the surface.